The following is a world-class Bullshitters exclusive.
Live from government-mandated quarantine, it's Fandom Menace Tonight with Jeff Hicks. All right, folks, we are live. It is Fandom Menace Tonight for March 25th, 2020. So at first I thought to myself, there's not a whole lot to talk about in the world of pop culture. Then I turned on the internet and I realized, well, there's a ton of shit to talk about. So tonight, as always, is going to be a fun show. So I don't know why I'm going to do it, but I'm going to introduce myself anyway. I'm your host, Jeff Hicks of World Class Bullshitters, first channel of the Fandom Menace, and host of this show, which I'm very excited to do. Or be, I should say. We are in the midst of this virus crisis as more states shut down your mandatory shut-in times or whatever the proper phrase is. And today I ventured out again for groceries, and I waited in line to shop, and it was an odd experience because once you got into the store, it was like nothing had changed. You know, they were limiting the people, but they still had the same shitty music. The only inconvenience was a lack of toilet paper, and the Starbucks person was on a break. Then again, I don't know why Starbucks would be considered essential, but it's part of the grocery store, so I guess it's a nice loophole for the Starbucks business. But today is going to be fun because we're going to be talking about all sorts of things like James Gunn toilet paper. That is not a joke. That is not a catchy title. That is a portion of this show. We're also going to make a couple special announcements about stuff we have lined up for this weekend. We're going to be talking about Doom Eternal. Batman vs. Superman is celebrating, I guess it's the only one celebrating it, but the 4-year anniversary of the film, of the death of the DCEU. That's a lot of in that sentence. But we're also going to be talking about another Batman topic, as well as a few other things. So before we get started tonight, folks, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button, and let's get started with Fandom Menace Tonight. So, where do we want to get started? I guess we'll start with the announcement I want to make. So last weekend we did the Indiana Jones trilogy live stream. It was a lot of fun. A lot of people joined. There were a lot of beers had, and it was I wouldn't call it a sobering experience because we weren't sober by the end of it. But this weekend we're going to be doing Good Burger over on Jesse's channel. So if you want to join us, it's going to be a burger stream. So we're not going to be drinking per se. We might. Want to play the drinking game?
On the Good Burger stream?
Yeah.
Of course.
Okay, so we're going to be drinking.
Good Burger. How are we not drinking?
I was going to say we eat a cheeseburger for every $20 super chat.
No.
That way we'll puke on air. I'm willing to die for your channel. No, I'm joking.
I'm not.
I'm willing to die for art. Yes. No, but folks, we're going to be playing the drinking game. We're going to be eating Fat Burger, watching Good Burger, and having some fun callbacks to 90s nostalgia. So if you guys would like to join us, that'll be 6 Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you're on this coast, you can have dinner with us. If you're on the East Coast, you can have a snack or a late night, well, a mid-evening beer, and we'll have some fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. I have great Good Burger stories to tell. I have been to the Universal Studios where they did film a lot of Nickelodeon stuff. I've seen the sets in person, and Good Burger was the first film that I ever watched on bootleg. So that is fun. So if you'd like to join us, I will be sharing the links all over social media. You can't miss it unless you're trying to avoid it. Our friend Kevin Castillo sends in the first super chat of the evening. Thank you very much, Kevin. It says, toilet paper, dark fate. Well, Kevin, I'd like to think that all toilet paper has a dark fate. Yes, that is a poop joke. But I'm gonna make sure I send that to Dion because Dion's gonna be very heartbroken to hear that you're taking a dump on his favorite Terminator film, a film that he loves so much, in fact, that he is willing to get a tattoo of it. And it's funny too. It started out as a joke on the channel. He's like, I'd actually do that. So maybe we will do like a post-coronavirus charity stream. We'll donate the money to some sort of, I don't know, health organization or somebody, or some grocery store fund for the employees or something. I don't know. We'll figure something else out down the road, but it would be very funny. And Dion is game. Speaking of fun, last night on the High Council, we discussed the SJW superhero trading cards. And as I said, I have begun work on those. That is not a joke. That was not just a fun riff during the show. That's something that's going to happen. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back, check out the High Council that featured myself, Tom from Midnight's Edge After Dark, Mecha Random, and Geeky Candy. And we had a lot of fun with all of you out there. So on Tuesday nights, if you have nowhere else to be, well, you do now. It's the High Council. So, let's see. Where are we at? So, yes. So James Gunn has custom toilet paper. You know, I wish I was a celebrity so I could have custom toilet paper of my friends' faces. But this is the ultimate prank. Maybe one day I'll spend the money and do this to Dion. So James Gunn resorts to using his prank Michael Rooker face toilet paper. And here's an image of it for you right now. So I don't know about you guys, but when I consider friendship, torture is part of it. I enjoy it quite a bit. Let's see. But, you know, I've never taken to the next step where I'm going to, you know, put my friend's face on it. But that's some next level shit. That is cruel. And it seems like James Gunn is that sort of dude. I know a lot of people are angry with him over his comments. Was it 2 years ago now? I didn't even care then. I still don't care now. But James Gunn must have a sense of humor that would necessitate Michael Rooker toilet paper. Yeah, Midnight Edge After Dark, Tom. I want that too. I would like that. That'd be fun. I would never want to shove someone's face up my bum. Well, I don't want to, but it would be the ultimate in humiliation. You know, I've met Michael Rooker. Wasn't very friendly. It was at a convention, so when I see this, I get a good chuckle out of it. Ryan Johnson's face would make a good alternative, as well as Brie Larson. So if you guys have a nice celebrity toilet paper alternative, let me know. Because it's funny. I was thinking about this earlier when I saw Madonna's video. Like, the coronavirus has made me realize how useless celebrities truly are. People say, oh, they're a valuable asset to society. They do this, they do that. I would say professional athletes do more than regular celebrities, because it's like, oh, I was in a movie, this, that, and the other. That's awesome. At least a lot of these dudes in the NFL and the NBA usually give back to communities. You see people, didn't you say Kobe Bryant gives shoes and something else to every kid that goes to a certain high school?
Lower Marion, the high school that he went to.
Okay, so that's something.
To be fair, it's also a super rich high school.
How do I know? When you say lower, it sounds like it's poor.
No, Lower Marion is one of the most well-off public schools in the country.
Oh, okay. Well, there we go. But the guy that plays for the Vikings that I went to high school with, I think he has some kind of thing where he donates money to. So at least they do something. But Madonna and all these other out-of-touch celebrities that are complaining about being stuck in quarantine. It's funny, too, because, oh, I'm stuck in quarantine away from the world. But when you're in public, you don't want to be fucking bothered. So which way is it? Are you going to... What's going to happen is when the whole mandated you have to shut in order is ended in June now, because they said it's through May.
For LA at least.
At least LA. So all these people are going to descend from their huge mansions and want to be part of society. I hope everyone realizes just how dumb they are and tells them to go fuck themselves. I don't care about that. Thank you, Walter. Fuck it, let's go bowling. I'm glad you enjoyed the High Council last night, and yes, I will have those. I'll be working on those. Go Big Boar or Go Home says SJW villain for your cards, the Misoginator. Well, I'll take that down. It's a good name. I'm feeling sunglasses and a buzz cut. Cesare Japan, what's up? By the way, Cesare Japan, I'm watching the chat. I shared the PO box. I don't know if you saw it. If you didn't see it, I will share it for you, specifically for you on the stream. But yeah, 90s comic books. Oh, there's a lot of great 90s comic books. There's a lot of terrible ones. So I wouldn't use all 90s comics. But even though I enjoy his work, Jim Lee's X-Men #1 sold 7 or 8 million units. So, I mean, if we're going to get down to it, maybe, well, no, I don't want to, I don't want to do that. I wish Madonna would run out of toilet paper. I do too. A lot of great names in the chat tonight, folks. Oh, Jim Lee. Is Jim Lee that bad? I don't really follow him as the co-publisher or the sole publisher of DC Comics. I usually think of Jim Lee as, artist Jim Lee, designer of my favorite Cyclops and all this other stuff. So when we talk a little bit about nostalgia tonight, there's a special place in my heart for the artistry of Jim Lee. But yeah, this is kind of funny to me. I thought this would be a nice, fun lead-in because right now we need fun. As I said earlier, our executive order to stay in has been extended till May through May. So while it's not the worst thing in the world, it is kind of frustrating that it's like, well, I can't do this or I can't do that. So bars are lucky that alcohol doesn't expire because as long as they can stay in business, The day that this shit is lifted, the bar scene is going to be nuts.
Oh, yeah.
And I think we should go party.
I agree.
So Kevin Castillo, what up, Goober Brothers Entertainment? How you doing in the chat? Kevin Castillo says, supervillain for the SJW comic Horoscope. This villain kills people based on their star sign and blames them for their own horoscope for why they kill. That's actually too good for the SJW comic book. That's just a fantastic concept. It's very campy. It's very cheesy, but it's very fun. I wouldn't discredit your idea as something for those cards. I think that's just too good, honestly. I'm not trying to be nice to you. I think that's pretty good. I was reading some EC comics before I got to work today, and I thought to myself, I love horror comics. That'd be a great one. That'd be a great idea for a Batman villain. What do you think? Because, I mean, he has like Calendar Man and all these other ones, so why not? Maybe Adam West, Batman, Horoscope. So, Children of the Atom, we did talk about that, folks. I put that in the video. I feel like right now, the hottest topic is comic books. Sadly, a lot of them are dying, the store, the industry, all that stuff. We're seeing a big change, and I don't like it. And I do like the idea, though, of Jimmy Kimmel on toilet paper. I'd buy $1,000 worth of it. I hate that guy so much. Thank you, Kevin. I will take that down as a note, though. It's just a fantastic concept. So, yeah, Don, I would be extra careful. We never drink and drive. We just take Ubers everywhere in California. Or like they do in Beverly Hills, we take whichever car is closest. So, while we're on the topic of, let's see, hold on, what popped up? Andy from the UK, thank you very much. He says, can't sleep, enjoying listening to you, my bro. Well, Andy, thank you for listening. Too bad all this travel shit has been restricted. Was looking forward to hanging out with you this year at Celebration. That's my biggest regret. No celebration this year. Well, it has been officially canceled, but the Olympics have been postponed, right, for next year?
The latest next summer is what the Prime Minister said.
Okay, so the Olympics are postponed. So Star Wars Celebration will more than likely be postponed because that is an event that brings people from all over the world. But don't worry, folks. Fandom Menace isn't going anywhere. We'll just be locked up. We'll make our videos. We'll make our projects. And then we'll get together when everything's cleared out and it's all safe again. So there we go. Tom says, I have internet gas. Bad. I am very sorry that you have internet gas. Did you eat internet burritos or internet chimichangas? I feel terrible for you, man. So let's see. We're going to be talking about WrestleMania at the very end of the show, Goober Brothers Entertainment. Would love to talk about it more, but the audience just isn't into wrestling the way I am. But, internet Taco Bell, you said, Tom. Okay. But yeah, we will be, we'll eventually be down there. We'll eventually do more meetups. Trust me. This was the year we were going to do it. Next time. So let's see. What else do we have? We have actually a lot of stuff lined up. So with James Gunn, does anyone harbor any grudges for the jokes? Are you still against Guardians 3? I guess Thor 4 is going to be like Guardians 3. I will say the Russo brothers, for when they directed Infinity War, basically gave me a mini Guardians movie that felt like it was directed by James Gunn. I'm not saying I'm advocating for anything to happen to his position. I have zero interest in his Suicide Squad film. But what I am saying is other people can capture the tone of the Guardians. There's a lot of that comes from the chemistry of the actors, not necessarily just the director. This isn't like a Sam Raimi situation where he's bringing out certain traits in actors. Other people are doing that with the Guardians. Congo style. So let's see. Kano does not like the jokes. Mudageki says the jokes are disturbing. What's up, Girthy Guitars? How you doing tonight, man? Tom says they're just jokes, so no accusations came out. Yeah, like I said, I didn't really run with this in terms of channel content. It was weird, but whatever. It's the internet after all. So let's see. I didn't have a chance to watch the Chris Benoit documentary either. I'm going to sit down with Jesse. We're going to watch part 1 and 2 together. It's I can't wait. So one other thing I wanted to ask, because it kind of got buried in last night's High Council with all the fun, which is what is important. So we're talking about James Gunn briefly, MCU stuff, delays. Do you think people will come out of this quarantine excited for more Marvel, or do you think it'll be, just building off of the whole Endgame was the end type of thing? I don't care if those movies ever get made again. I'm just very happy about it. that it was done, and it was done right. So, what else we got tonight? Doom Eternal is out. Now, I have been telling Jesse that one of my biggest regrets in moving was not bringing my PlayStation. I left it at home for my mom to use all the streaming services on because for some reason she can't figure out a Roku, but she can figure out how to use a PlayStation controller. So I thought to myself, I need to be dedicated. I need to get work done. I don't have time for video games. So I left the PlayStation 4 back home. And now that I'm seeing this Doom Eternal stuff, it looks like a lot of fun. IGN gave it a 9. That's cool. I guess there was just too much water to get a 10 out of 10. But it looked like a lot of fun to me. I have Doom 2016 on the Switch. Got it because it was super cheap. Grew up playing Doom. Not as much as you'd think, but enough. And so I was having some flashbacks. Maybe it's part of FOMO, because I have a PC, but it's clearly not powerful enough to run Doom Eternal at max specs. Then again, neither is the PlayStation 4. Tony Alec, thank you very much for your super chat. Kevin Spacey wants Tom to keep talking about his gas. Oh, the internet gas. Is Kevin Spacey still alive? I thought he just fell off the face of the earth. Oh, well. No problem for me. So let's see. People are giving Darth Morgoth says Doom is a 10 out of 10. See, the thing I like about Doom is just the over-the-top violence and gore. Ripping the eyeballs out of those big floaty creatures, chainsawing it up, throwing grenades, watching stuff blow apart. Just good fun. Nobody gets hurt making these games. Nobody gets hurt playing those games. I know a lot of people like to have the debate about, do video games cause violent behavior? I know for me personally, the answer is no. As a kid, I grew up in an area where people gave me shit for not being white. Did I ever beat anybody up? Did I ever do anything? No. I remained a good student. If I ever got angry, I think the most I did as a little kid was play GoldenEye and just blow up the soldiers. But then again, I was laughing at that. I didn't think about the kids in school that I, wasn't happy with. It was just like, this is GoldenEye and I want to be James Bond. But I did take dark pleasure in rolling people over with the tank. That sound effect, ooh, I still love it to this day. It's like the headshot sound from Gears of War. Nothing is sweeter. But also on the topic of the whole game violence thing, Grand Theft Auto played everyone in the 3D era on, or since the 3D era on, killed the prostitutes, blew up the places, burned shit down, attacked passerbys on the street, did it all. Gladly would do it again. Fun game, digital violence, not real violence. And some of the happiest moments of my gaming life are from Grand Theft Auto. But I've never done any of that shit. So somebody who spent, more than most of my life playing games, starting with Mario, I don't really think there is that correlation. So I don't know what you guys think. Hold on, David L. I gotta read the super chats in order, but we'll talk about it in a second. Let's see. Deef, thank you very much for your super chat. Intelligent alcohol puns with a friend can make your bud wiser. Oh, you hear that? See, Deef, that sounds like something my uncle would have told me. There's this really terrible one about why does Mrs. So-and-so's soup only have 239 beans because one more would make it too farty or something like that. That is what that joke is. But you know what? I appreciate it. I'm going to send it to the guys because though I live with somebody who hates jokes like that, I think Dion would appreciate it. Sorry, Jesse. I'm sharing it with Dion. You can't stop me. But thank you, Deef. David L says, just buy another PS4 or wait for PS5. See, David, that's the plan. I'm going to wait. I don't want to drop $400 on a new system and trying to re-download all my games and get another external hard drive. I'll just wait till the end of the year, PS5 or Xbox or whatever. And, I have patience. Yes, seriously, Black, I consider that sound like popping bubble wrap. That's satisfying. That sound effect. It's great. So let's see what people are saying. Some people say, fuck the PS5. I've had every PlayStation is the only console that I've had every one of. I skipped the Nintendo Wii U and I skipped the Xbox One X. But, I have a Switch and I can always come back to the Xbox if I'm unsatisfied. So Apocrypha doesn't think video games cause direct violence. Yes, Jonathan, you can't kill the hookers. That's how I got a refund all the time. Let's see. The Xbox does have physical media dome hammer. IGN's been going nuts talking about the new consoles. So It does have a disk drive. PS5 has physical media as well. GameCube was a great system. No doubt about that. My grandma, fun story. So when I wrote the speech for her funeral, I was trying to think of a nice, funny anecdote. And so I thought of the time where she skipped church. Well, not skipped church. She left church very early to take me to buy a Nintendo because it was very important for her to make sure I got that Nintendo GameCube. And I played the shit out of that system. So Etepokoya's place to be reviews. What's up, dude? He says, R. Kelly, Kevin Spacey here. Any leftovers? Those are two celebrities. Do you think I don't know what you guys think, but after all this blows over, people kind of forget all the shit they were going through, and they'll just be like, "Oh yeah, I remember that person." It's kind of like, what was it, Senator Gary Condit? Everyone was going about him and Chandra Levy, and then 9/11 happened, and nobody talked about it ever again. So if you're one of those terrible people that have done terrible things, and this happens, you won't get away with it, but you'll be out of public consciousness for a while. So I guess you're very fortunate. But maybe one day I'll watch that R. Kelly documentary. That would be scary. Ooh, the first system was Atari 2600. Never had one of those. That was before my time. First was the NES for me. But I'm seeing a ton of hype for Doom, a ton of praise. I know GameStop considered themselves essential for a while, and that's clearly not the case. Nobody thinks GameStop is essential. But if you're out there, if you're a gamer, I think a great way to listen to our podcast is put us on, play some games, have some fun, get involved in the community. But we're always there. So we're great game content. Maybe I'll put out a podcast that's about game podcast to play or listen to while you play a game or some shit like that. It might work. Believe me, if you would have told me 10 years ago, hey, Jeff, you're going to walk around a store with a cell phone camera and film Star Wars toys and build a giant audience, I'd be like, yeah, sure. Well, here we are. E.T. was not a good game. E.T. was not a good game. No, not at all. Sorry. Am I sponsored by Sprite? I wish I would be sponsored by any Coca-Cola product. Coca-Cola, in this hard time when there are no celebrities, you should sponsor internet YouTube channels. Why? We reach an audience and somebody's going to buy your product. So why not just give us a little bump and say it was us? So one thing I did notice when I was making my show notes, I was thinking about consoles. The PlayStation 2 was kind of light on really good first-person shooters. When you think about the great first-person shooters of that generation, it's obviously Halo 1 and 2. But PlayStation 2 had shooters on it. It would be dumb not to say that, but I mean, you had the great action games, you had the platformers, you had all kinds of crazy stuff on that system. You weren't really rocking it out. I mean, hell, even GameCube had better. Maybe they had some multiplats, but like you had Metroid Prime 1 and 2 on the GameCube. So those were much better first-person shooters, in my opinion. But I can't think of a console-defining first-person shooter on any of the PlayStations, because nowadays we're in the Call of Duty era, which Call of Duty is the premier first-person shooter, but it's multi-plat. If we go back to PC, it was obviously Doom. Nintendo 64 was GoldenEye all day. First PlayStation, the games that defined that system were not first-person. Xbox, yes. GameCube, yeah and no. And then definitely not for PlayStation. So I wonder what you guys think. I know Time Splitters was a multi-plat. I like Time Splitters 2. It was made by a lot of the people that worked on GoldenEye, and it's the game that's being played in Shaun of the Dead. So I don't know if anybody knows that. But yeah, it's just a little fun fact.
Bad news for GameStop, at least in LA.
What's bad news for GameStop?
The mayor announced that Los Angeles is going to shut off water and power of non-essential businesses that have refused to close.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so if they're still keeping the doors open, they're getting serious about this enforcement.
Well, I think they this week announced that they're just closing down all their stores.
Good.
So there's no reason. I mean, the only thing that's going to happen in terms of the game industry right now is there's going to be a huge push for digital. If you're lucky enough to be in a location with decent internet and you need Doom, you will just download it. You'll pay the $60 and get it online. And like what PlayStation will do sometimes is when they run their specials, I will drop, I'll buy a bunch of games and I'll get them, cheap. and digitally. So
Also, realistically, this has been coming for a while. If you didn't go out and stock up on the games you want for the shutdown,
well, to be fair,
zero
Doom
damn
just came out on Friday.
That's true. No, that's
So
true.
with a huge release in Animal Crossing, people are going nuts for those 2 titles. But you're lucky too. Walmart sells games, and
Walmart, Best Buy.
And Best Buy is still considered essential somehow.
There you go.
So there we go.
So GameStop's not the only place you can get them.
I actually don't like to go to GameStop. So let's see. PS1 had pirated games. PS1 did have pirated games. You had the mod chip. I remember my cousin was like, if you want me to do that for you, I will. And I said, sure. And then I forgot. And I've never pirated a video game. Because I guess the legality of the emulators and ROMs is if you have the cartridge, it's just like owning a digital replicant of the, if it's legal in Blade Runner, it's legal here type of situation, which it's not. Anyway, point is, most of the emulators and ROMs I have are systems and games I've already purchased, like Mega Man X. I just want to play that all the time. Let's see. Did I get any desk wine? Oh my God, Breadman Productions. I forgot you listened to all the episodes. We have a jug of wine under a table that I've worked at before. So sure, we'll call it desk wine. One thing I have changed a lot outside of the streams is, I used to like to party with friends and hang out on the weekends. Since moving, I don't really drink much anymore. Just for streams and stuff like that, like Oscar night and Indiana Jones night, or not St. Patty's Day, obviously. But I can always go for some nice desk wine in case of an emergency. That's all I can say. Let's see. PS1 was more Japanese with more third person, like Resident Evil. See, I know this is weird. Like, we always talk about nostalgia, and sometimes nostalgia is great and sometimes it's terrible. See Disney Star Wars, when they make a terrible movie and try to cash in on nostalgia and say, remember this, remember that. But when it comes to like nostalgia, right now I've been feeling it pretty hard for the old PlayStation. I had it when it first came out. Yeah, it's obviously dated. The games don't look as great. But what I found myself doing is watching a lot of YouTube videos based on classic gaming, because it's like, I would love to sit down and play Cool Borders 2 or Tomorrow Never Dies or WWF SmackDown 2 or Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. A lot of good 2s on the PlayStation. And I just have really had the urge to do all that stuff. And there was definitely a weird in a positive way, like this weird organic feel that the original PlayStation had over the Nintendo 64. I also get a similar, like a different feeling, a different good feeling over the Nintendo 64. Super Nintendo, I was so young, I had it. I wasn't into gaming the way I got into the next gen. But PlayStation really introduced me and a lot of other people to specific ways of Japanese entertainment. I played this Cooking Mama game or something on the original PlayStation. It was like a demo disc from Jam Pack 2000, all kinds of stuff like that. But it was really neat how you're introduced. Essentially, a lot of these game consoles and anime and manga are like windows to a different culture. So Resident Evil definitely was a little different in that regard. I remember playing Resident Evil 2 a lot. I had a Leon Kennedy action figure, and then I played Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. I always wanted to get into Code Veronica and stuff like that because I wanted a Dreamcast and never got it, but I never did. I will say, though, since we're talking about Resident Evil for a minute, number 4 is my personal favorite. And if you guys have a favorite one, let me know in the chat. Yeah, AJ Journeyman, I agree that was their undoing with the N64, the cartridges, but I have to say that I enjoyed the game selection. And there were games that were released on PlayStation and Nintendo 64, and the Nintendo 64 ones sometimes were better in terms of visuals and not sound, because PlayStation had CD quality sound, but visuals. And it depends. Like Tony Hawk looked better on the N64, but they took out the blood, and some of the songs didn't have lyrics because they were too edgy, like Police Truck by the Dead Kennedys, which is how I found that band. So it was always a trade-off back then. Now it's like, oh, I'm going to play it on PlayStation or Xbox. It's like, okay, it's the same fucking game. The only time you really take a dip in quality is on the Nintendo Switch. But if you're like a real hardcore gamer or just somebody that has more than one system in your home, you're not playing your Nintendo Switch for multi-plats unless you're like me and Doom was super cheap and you're just curious to try it and you didn't care. Go Big Boar or Go Home, thank you very much for your super chat. The ET Atari game was so bad that I referenced it in one of my videos to illustrate complete failure. It is true that it's a complete failure. There's a whole there's like documentaries built around it. I believe I watched a documentary around the ET Atari game with a lot of the guys. They went out to the site, they dug up some games. The Angry Video Game Nerd movie is about the ET cartridge. ET is the Xanadu. Well, I can't even think of a film that equals that, because, that is what a lot of people, historians, fans, gamers in general, just say is like it what killed the game industry in America in the 80s. And I notice how I said in America, because other parts of the world, gaming was fine. You had your arcades, you had your PC, stuff like that. And then when NES came out in America in 85, early release, 86, general release type of thing, it was back. But ET is an embarrassment. And the funny thing is, before the internet took off the way it is now, I remember in the early 90s playing ET at my cousin's house, because for some reason, my uncle wanted to introduce his kids to like Atari games. And this is like 94, 95. So I'm like, I got a Super Nintendo. I don't care. And so they're playing that. And then they're playing the Genesis, but they didn't have many games for it. And then he bought him a PlayStation fairly early on. So that was cool. I like PlayStation, obviously. But ET was shit. I remember getting stuck in the hole and trying to extend your neck to go up and down. Like, I'm one of the people that have played it, and it's terrible. Dash Attack, thank you very much for your super chat. What are your thoughts on the Sony Venom Universe movie rumors? Wolfman and Solo, particularly Man-Wolf, excuse me. John Jameson is Man-Wolf. I'm okay. I guess, okay, I've said this many times on the show. I have not seen Venom yet. Do I want to? Yes. My stance on Venom has softened as I get older. One, I liked the character as a kid because he was everywhere, but I always was just more interested in Doc Ock. I thought that was a cooler character with the tentacles, and he was smart and all that stuff. But as I read the McFarlane run, well, technically David Michelini, I believe, wrote it, or is it J.M. DeMatteis? Whoever was writing Amazing Spider-Man 298 through whatever, the early McFarlane Spider-Man stuff, I've appreciated Venom a lot more as a character. There's actually like a horror element to Venom, which I appreciate, because there's a great issue where Venom escapes and he shows up at Aunt May's house, and he's trying to be so nice and so sweet to Aunt May, who doesn't know Peter's Spider-Man, or at least we think she doesn't. And Peter can't do anything about it. And he's like, meet me here and I'll kill you and all this shit. And it's like, oh, this is cool because he can't do anything, and Eddie can show up anywhere and all that stuff. So the Tom Hardy movie was on my radar, but I avoided it intentionally. But it was a huge hit. I'm hoping I like it the way I liked Into the Spider-Verse. Again, another film that I avoided intentionally because I'm like, I want Peter Parker, I want classic Spider-Man, I want the suit to look a certain way. And I went to my friend Phil's house and we watched it on Netflix, and I was impressed. I was like, this is really great. Might be my third favorite Spider-Man film. It's still 2, then number 1, maybe Into the Spider-Verse, then Far From Home or Homecoming. I don't know. I got to go back. But my point is, I'm open to the Sonyverse. Man-Wolf, if they do it right, and you're always saying, like, you always say it, and I do say it, you got to do it right. I've seen the images of Woody Harrelson in Venom 2, and I am not a Carnage fan. Carnage was never done right in the cartoon because he's a violent serial killer, and he's got to be bloody and gory, and he hacks people up. But I went back and I read Amazing Spider-Man 361. Is that the first appearance of Carnage? Either way, the one where Carnage is hanging out in a building and Spider-Man's looking for him, and he finds him, and then they fight and they tear this building down. It's really cool. There's another great one where he chases Carnage into Madison Square Garden, and the Fantastic Four show up. It's pretty cool too. But Solo, I remember Solo from 2 issues of Spider-Man and another another DK book on Spider-Man. Not a fan. Don't care about him. He's a mercenary. But Man-Wolf could be cool. I like horror movies. I like the idea of a Morbius movie. The trailer looked cool. I was very interested in it. And hopefully they do this and then they introduce Spider-Man somehow. I wouldn't even be mad if they're like, this is another Spider-Man, or they're like, hey, we're dusting off Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, or just anything to give us a Spider-Man movie, because I know Sony only has a handful of IPs that they can mine, and I want it all to be done properly, folks. I'm not one of these people that is like trying to rush into making a Spider-Man movie every year, but every other year, every 3 years, I wouldn't be mad. We're not due for one this year. We would be due for one next year. And just to keep something alive would be fun. And that Spider-Man's a series that I've read so many of the books that I'm going to get a feel for all of it. So Dash, I hadn't heard about Man-Wolf and Solo, but Man-Wolf could be fun. Again, Disney didn't recast J. Jonah Jameson. J.K. Simmons still plays him in both film universes, and they had the good sense to not put J. Jonah Jameson in the Mark Webb Amazing Spider-Man franchise, because no one's going to do it better. You know, Disney's at a disadvantage when they're going to try to make somebody else play Hugh Jackman's character. Wolverine is Hugh Jackman. Same with Robert Downey Jr. and Iron Man. Those characters, those actors are linked together. For as much as I like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man movies, other people can play Spider-Man and it's completely fine. But there's just something like in Batman 2. You know, I love Michael Keaton. He's my favorite, but I'm okay with Christian Bale. Ben Affleck, which we'll talk about a little later because today's the anniversary of BVS, fine as well. Robert Pattinson, Bat, not for me, but I got to see more before I can make the judgment, but I'm still not excited from what I've seen. But yeah, so John Jameson is J. Jonah Jameson's son. He's an astronaut. Are they going to do that? I think he finds like a rock that turns him into Man-Wolf. He is exposed to radiation. Because originally in the comic, maybe it's issue 41 where Mary Jane first appears, Spider-Man fights John Jameson because he comes back and he has this weird radiation, and they have to put him in a suit that depowers him because every time he does something, he breaks it. He breaks a table, he breaks a door frame, and all this other shit. So it's kind of crazy. But then later on, he becomes this Man-Wolf character, and it's from the 70s, which is a dark era for Spider-Man, in my opinion. But it could be awesome. We'll find out, Dash. But thank you for telling me, because now I'm going to do some research, and I'll talk to the guys on the show tomorrow night. Wanderer, thank you very much. He says, literally playing some Sonic Adventure 2 right now and trying to get all these damn Chaos Emeralds. I figured after about 15 years, it was finally time to do that. You know, Wanderer, what's funny, at least for me, is sometimes I'll play a game, and then I'll stop playing it for a little bit, go back to it, and then I complete it right away. So for me, Halo 2, in my memory, is a very short game because I played it a bunch, got stuck, came back months later, played one level, that was the last level, boom, was done. There are some games, like I haven't played Sonic Adventure 2 outside of the demo where you go down San Francisco's big hills or whatever on the snowboard and do that stuff. But I do love dusting off old games. Actually, before I moved, I bought a new PS2 and I started playing some old games because we were robbed a couple years ago. Twice, actually. The first time, I got everything back but my PlayStation 2, and the second time, I got nothing back. But I'd always wanted to play PS2 again, so I've gone back and played some old games, and it's kind of funny. I don't know if this is the same way for you, Wanderer. You sit down, and it's like you never stop playing it. A couple minutes, you get acclimated to the control scheme, and then boom, you're off to the races. So hopefully you get through it well, and hopefully you have a good time with it. That's all I want out of games. It was a good time. You know, Bits of Pretzel, a lot of people played PS2 without a memory card. Ask Dion tomorrow night on the show. He'll tell you how he used to leave his system on for days so he could play without a memory card. That was one of my things when I said to my mom, I want a PS2. I was like, Mom, I know you can't afford to give me a game, but can you please give me a memory card? Because, you know, PS2 is backwards compatible. So I thought, at least for a minute, I can play Tony Hawk 2 and SmackDown and all this stuff. And she said yes. And then luckily my two friends let me borrow some games, and everything was good. Sorry, Classy Cannabis, that you were robbed as well. It sucks. There's nothing. The only positive thing I can say about the last time we were robbed is my mom's boyfriend, who's a really cool dude, replaced my computer, and instead of replacing my PlayStation 3 and Xbox, he bought me a PlayStation 4, which had just come out a week before. Actually, I got robbed the day the PS4 came out, and then he bought me a new TV for Christmas. And then my mom had bought me a TV around Black Friday to replace the one that was stolen. So I had double flat screens. It was kind of cool. But yeah, Classic Cannabis, I feel your pain, dude. So sorry, man. Hold on. Let's see. I like this one. I want this on screen. So today is a very special day for some reason. Some people are going to say it's good. Some people are going to say it's bad. But we're in this anniversary of Batman versus Superman. So 4 years ago today, Batman versus Superman Dawn of Justice came out. And this is one of the things when we're talking about an anniversary that I can say the show existed. Our show existed way back in 2016 when the film came out. I remember going to see it and being disappointed. It was just And out of 10, I think I gave it a 5. And it wasn't anything special. And this is what we said about it. I have this title card I'm going to show you guys for a second. Poor guy. It's the light they like. So yes, this is what I had for Dawn of Justice back in the day. Dawn of Just Ass. There we are. You could tell that we've really grown as a channel. We've gone from ass puns to toilet paper jokes. So, Oh, BVS drinking game. Drink every time Batman kills somebody. You want to play that, Jesse?
Yes.
Ugh.
Literally get through it.
It's funny. I tried to watch Batman versus Superman the day they announced Robert Pattinson's Batsuit. I had to turn it off. I just couldn't get to that movie. There are parts that I like. There are parts that I hate. So,
like most of it.
Most of it is the correct answer. So in the chat, folks, I'd like you to tell me what some of your thoughts were on BVS. To me, that was a watershed moment in superhero films, but for a negative thing, because it came out, it made its money, but then it tanked, or it dropped off quickly. And it was made in the era of the grim, dark, anger superhero, like the end of it. Zack Snyder was very late to the party in regard to superhero stuff. The grim, dark, edgy shit ended in 2012, and he started making them in 2013. Now, like Birds of Prey and other stuff, these films were greenlit and started production when things were, it was cool to shit on men in film. That's why, people felt empowered by Ghostbusters, and it tanked, and they're still trying to, fight the good fight of Ghostbusters 2016. And again, it was never a good fight to begin with. But this was a film that was the process began during the Dark Knight era, where the Dark Knight was the first superhero film to make $1 billion. It was the gold standard for many, many years, and for some, it's still the gold standard. I have always thought it to be a very good film, a great movie, but never the gold standard for superhero films. We had already had great films before, and we've had many great films after, including the Avengers, Infinity War, Civil War, Winter Soldier, all kinds of stuff like that. And before it, I'd say Batman or Spider-Man 2, X2, X-Men United, stuff like that. So a lot of people are the extended version too. We watched it here on the channel when it first came out. We did a commentary for it. Maybe it was on Patreon, maybe it wasn't. I don't know. But I got mad. I couldn't do it. That's it. I mean, the extended cut doesn't make the film any better, in my opinion. It's just more of a bad thing. It'd be like saying, hey, Jeff, you want to watch the extended cut of The Last Jedi? No, I don't. I don't want to watch the extended cut of The Last Jedi, the regular cut of The Last Jedi, or any of the Disney films. I mean, the only thing I would want to watch is if they said there's an alternate cut of Rogue One. I'd like to see what that is. Other than that, I'm not interested. Let's see. Batfleck is awesome. See, here's the thing. He's the best part of a bad movie. So does that make him truly great, or is he just the best of a bad situation? Because Henry Cavill is not a bad Superman. He's written as a shitty Superman. Like, the Superman in that story is boring and not very well defined or optimistic or hopeful. It's funny how there are certain things that are a constant. When you think of Americana, you think of Mom and Apple Pie and all that stuff. And Superman, up until now, actually, still considered America's greatest superhero. There was a poll that came out the other day that ranked Superman as the greatest superhero over Spider-Man in America. And I thought, wow, that's surprising, but I get it. There is just a constant about the character of Superman. And they had tried to change him in 2013 to make him darker, more angsty, and this and that. And there's just something that always hits the right note about the Christopher Reeve Superman. Hell, even George Reeves, Dean Cain, the older stuff, when he's just, he's a bastion of truth, justice, in the American way. That kind of stuff is a constant with the character. To me, that's as defining of Superman as Iron Man's jokes or Bruce Wayne's money, or just stuff like that. Like, things you don't take away from the character. They have to look a certain way. They have to act a certain way because you're adapting it. And this film is very much a response to trying to fix the wheel. We're going to add some right angles to it. So all you get is a fucking square, and it doesn't work. You can't really drive on that. And I get mad when people say, "Oh, Superman's boring. He's the most boring superhero in the world." He's not the most boring superhero in the world. You know who the most boring superheroes are in the world? The ones that are just cut and dry, the same shit, different day. The nuance is what makes these characters great. Like, I could say Deadpool's a boring character. You could say Deadpool is just a one-note film. But the thing that makes Deadpool, the character, and the film very subtle in certain parts and very good is the end moment when he goes back to Vanessa and she accepts him for being ugly and scarred and stuff like that. It's not just a comedy. There's some depth to the film. There's a nice romantic subplot, and there's some heart to it. Because they didn't just adapt the jokes, or they didn't try to change Deadpool. With Superman, they try to change him. They try to turn him into something else because he's not cool. Like, look, I get it. People on the internet want to rip and bitch about how he's got his trunks on over his shorts. Again, like we say with the New Warriors and all these other comic books, people on Twitter aren't representative of the general audiences. Superman had those trunks on for decades and decades and decades and decades, and guess what? It was never cool to wear your underwear over your pants. But people didn't complain because that's what he looked like. You can evolve, you can change, but somehow, even now, they've gone back to that classic design, and I don't think anyone's upset that Superman looks like Superman. When you Google Superman 2020, you don't get the shitty DC New 52 version. You get the classic red and blue, yellow belt, all kinds of stuff. Or you get Superman Red Sun, which is a film I really want to watch. But this film is guilty of so many things. And thankfully, this film is now a cautionary tale about changing for the sake of change. About subverting expectations before Rian Johnson was doing it. It was just the wrong film at the wrong time. A lot of people say Star Wars was the right film at the right time. BVS, what it was, is having a Batman versus Superman film in 2016 wasn't the wrong time, but that film, what it was 8 years too late. If you wanted to have a dark and realistic Batman face off against a Superman, you should have had Christian Bale versus Brandon Routh. And if you don't love Brandon Routh, you could recast him, but he's not the biggest problem with that fucking movie. But what you do is you take and you change the character up, and you just really kind of damage superhero films for a little bit. That's why DC never hasn't been able to evolve outside of Joker, because Aquaman and Wonder Woman do take place in the DCEU, but it's like we're on this path, but we're veering off for a little bit. We're taking a quick detour, and that was the right thing to do. Clearly, Birds of Prey is a continuation of where BVS was. When I look back and I think about this film, not only do I get angry and have a great sense of dread and boredom if I have to watch the film, I limit the fact that this was their one shot to do Batman and Superman in the same film, and they fucked it up. They fucked it up with Justice League too. And I even like Justice League as a movie. I think it's fine, but it could be way better. A 6 out of 10 movie isn't a great movie. It's just okay. It's just better than a failure. And, BVS has so many good ideas, but so many failures too. Like Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor, introduction of Wonder Woman at the end of the movie. That was too much. Doomsday, the death of Superman, all in this fucking, it's honestly, Zack Snyder started out directing music videos, and it shows with this film. He clearly does not get these characters. He was great with Dawn of the Dead. I loved his Dawn of the Dead film. I really do. I can't even tell you right now that I prefer the original. The original is great, but I like the remake. I think it adds a lot. I especially love the part about the neighbor with the signs and the zombies, with the legless zombie and all that stuff. It's a great movie. I will say it's great. I think it's Zack Snyder's best work. Some people would say 300. I've never liked the film, and I like Watchmen enough, but again, it's a movie I never want to watch again. Comic, I'll read. Movie, I won't watch. But Zack Snyder is like the inverse Joss Whedon, where they were attaching him to a certain type of thing, and Joss Whedon was able to make it work to a degree, and Zack Snyder was not able to make it work to a degree. Now, were there other people that did it better? Yes. The Russo brothers did it better than Joss Whedon. Nolan did it better than Zack Snyder, or Richard Donner did it better than Zack Snyder. But the thing is, you're in a position where you took DC's holy trinity of characters and it should have been a bigger cinematic event. It's like with the Rise of Skywalker. This is the end of the Star Wars saga. This should be the biggest movie of all time. Star Wars is the biggest thing of all time. But you have a company like Disney who changed it and made it a non-event. The only franchise, and you know what I'm going to say here, that kept it going, a constant, was the MCU. Thankfully, for the 12 years they did it, or 11 years, excuse me, they kept the event status and they did it right. I'm sure they course-corrected behind the scenes, but we never knew. I'd like to think if Guardians of the Galaxy wasn't a movie, or it was a failure, we would have had a more serious finale instead of a lot of jokes. But it is what it is, and for the most part, those movies are awesome. But that's a great question, though. Who fucked up more? DC when they put Batman and Superman together, or Disney by not putting the big three together in Star Wars? I'm going to go with Star Wars because they're all in the same movie, and they never interact. Leia doesn't meet Luke. Luke doesn't meet Han. But Leia and Han hug, and that's about it. And that was a cool moment, but it didn't save the movie. So I'm going to go with Star Wars because it's okay. See, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman can coexist, or they can be on their own adventure, and it's great. You need the holy three of Star Wars to really be a big thing. The Marvelization of Justice League is an interesting point. They definitely did do that. Again, it's Joss Whedon, and I think Joss Whedon had one great Marvel film, The Avengers, and one just okay film with Avengers, Age of Ultron. The movie looks great. I love a lot of the design choices, especially with the characters. I think that film has I think Captain America looks the best in Age of Ultron. I would love to get an SH figure, it's Age of Ultron figure, and get one of those custom little heads to put on it. I think that'd be a lot of fun. But anyway, that's a long story short. David Hervey, thank you very much. David says, I feel bad for laughing when that state building blew up and Superman was sitting there and looked sad. I was like, oh, this movie is so bad. I think, was it the Capitol that blew up with Superman in it? See, I like to imagine a Superman film where any loss of life is treated like a tragedy. When Zack Snyder made it, it's like, oh, it's a casualty. It's no big deal. It's like when James Bond blows up a factory full of Russian soldiers. It's like, they're just Russian soldiers. It didn't care. And who cares that they're dead? Some people did. And yes, Raptor Jesus, hail the chat. I want to thank everyone who joins us all the time during the crisis that's going on now, or when shit's good and you make your time for us all the time. So, David Hervey, Breadman Productions, Domehammer, Apocrypha, Joseph Valencia, all you guys are a huge part of the channel. I want to thank you. But what you were saying though, David, about the laughing at the stuff, I laughed too. There are cringe. See, the thing is, you laughed at that, but did you laugh when Jesse Eisenberg put the Jolly Rancher in the guy's mouth? No, because it was fucking weird. Did you have an impactful, gut-wrenching feeling when Superman screams, Martha, save Martha? No, you were like, what? I bet you 1 million people looked at their friends in different theaters across the world and went, oh shit, their moms do have the same name. Because I've been reading books and watching the movies and the shows most of my life, almost all of it. And I knew Martha Wayne, Martha Kent, but I never thought of it. I always thought of Superman's real parents, and I was just like, oh shit, yeah, Martha and Martha, cool, awesome. Didn't really do anything for me. But I didn't have that. I think when your emotions are misplaced and it's unintentional, it's really bad for a film. It wasn't, just wasn't a good thing. I like that Step Brothers reference, Growthy Guitarist SD. But the film has a legacy. It isn't a good legacy. If I'm going to try to be positive about stuff, what did I like from the film? Well, seeing the destruction of Metropolis from Bruce Wayne's perspective was cool and different. Batman looked fine. I liked the scene in the warehouse where he fought all the guards. The Batmobile was a much better design than what we're getting currently. I enjoyed... I'm really trying to find something else. Again, I'm not just trying to be sarcastic right now. There's just not a ton. I think the opening is dumb. I think the bat armor looks nice. I think that is a a cool design. The fight scene between them looked nice enough, but overall it was kind of disappointing. I don't even think you really needed to see them fight in a film. And if you do, it should have been done. You know what? Hold on. I was going to pull this up for you guys to give you a nice visual of the film. I mean, look at Superman's shoulder. That's incredible. But let me show you a much better example of a Batman Superman movie, because everyone thinks, oh, this is the only Batman versus Superman movie. We've actually had a Batman and Superman film many years ago. I grew up with it. I forgot. I misspoke. It is the best representation of the characters in a shared world, and it was done on television. Yes. So if anyone out there is a fan of the DCAU, the animated universe, you remember Superman the animated series, as well as Batman the animated series, or the New Adventures of Batman, whatever they called it. So in '97, I remember getting this videotape. I also remember getting the figures they had. I had a Superman the animated series toy, loved it. And then I also had I went and got the Batman and the Joker. And so I had those 3 figures. I watched this movie. And up until last year, I still watched this. I have this on VHS, DVD. I have it on, well, it's on the DC streaming service, which I, for some reason, fucking pay for. But this was it. The thing, I think there's a lot of frustration from DC fans. And I know I talk about Marvel a lot, but Marvel does dumber shit. More people, they have more things to call them out for. And, you know, I guess I do like Marvel more than DC overall in the grand scheme of things, but I am a DC fan. I may not have the same affinity for the Justice League as I do the X-Men, but I love the cartoon Justice League and all the animated stuff and the games and the toys and all that stuff. If I was going to cosplay as a superhero, I would get in shape and I'd be Batman. I wouldn't want to be Superman. I wouldn't want to be, you know, Spider-Man because he's supposed to be 5'10", but, you know, Batman's my shit. Long story short, though, DC fans feel the way they do, or at least I do, because we had such good shit for so many years consistently. And I would say a lot of the animated features have lost their luster. I don't know if they've had a lot of changing of the guard behind the scenes, or when they went to begin adapting the stories, the graphic novels, the comics into movie-specific things. So, like, I like Dark Knight Returns. I think that is a very well done animated feature. I liked Under the Red Hood, but then there were some bad ones. Wonder Woman was okay. I did not like and I liked Justice League Doom, but I didn't like Superman versus the Elite. Quite a few of them I didn't like. So I've even felt like they're going downhill. But, you know, it bothers me that we had something great. Then as technology and everything else in terms of movie making gets better, the story, which is paramount to all that, goes downhill, and they fuck up Batman vs Superman. They should have just adapted this and made it a live action film. That's all I can say. David Hervey, thank you very much for generous super chat. No, thank all you guys in the Fandom Menace for creating great content. I don't watch TV anymore, and when I do watch something, if it's not anime, financial and business webinars, I'm watching you guys. Keep up the great work. Well, David, thank you very much, and we definitely will. I, too, don't really watch much TV. Every once in a while when I'm doing a stream, and not tonight, I'll have, like, muted television on. It'll be, like, MeTV, so, like, Flintstones or just something old pops up. But, yeah, it's not even for me trying to be, you know, jaded or present you guys an image of, you know, me that I want to, but there's just a lot of modern TV I can't get into. The Big Bang Theory was something that I started to watch when it was new, lost interest a couple years into it. Dexter, I stuck it through till the end. Disappointing ending. Currently, at dinner time, Jesse and I watch Supernatural. I've never seen it, so I started watching it, and I genuinely like that show. I know some people might think it's, you know, Warner Brothers WB bullshit, but it's fairly violent. I actually had a cringy moment yesterday when this guy stuck his arm down a garbage disposal and it cut it off. I was like, oh god, ew. And it was weird too because our garbage disposal broke yesterday, so I was like, oh god, I'm not putting my hand on ours at all. And you know, that's about all I'm watching. Sometimes I'll watch the Goldbergs. I got to catch up on that kind of stuff. But I'm glad that you guys and I don't ever have to really say, like, I'm glad you guys appreciate it, because I definitely know you do. I mean, there's a ton of people that show up all the time. You guys are really generous. You guys are following us on all the platforms, backing the projects, doing the things, believing in us, and that means a lot, because I tell people say to me like, hey, I want to do YouTube. What can I do? What should I do? I always say like, hey guys, just keep at it. There's going to be a time where people don't care, and there's going to be a time where people can't miss it. And all you got to do is keep at it. And you've seen people like Gary and Doomcock rise up over the last year and do great numbers and stuff like that. So, this is the new media, if you will. This is going to be the future of entertainment. Yes, we don't have production budgets in the hundreds of millions. I mean, if a studio gave me $100 million and they said, make whatever you want, it wouldn't be some crazy CGI fest. I would just want to tell really fun, personal little stories. But again, David, thank you guys. I mean, you're here all the time, dude. I see you probably every week. I can see David Hervey in the chat, so thank you. People talk about the garbage disposal. Yeah, we're only on the 10th episode of Supernatural right now, so I'm really digging it. A lot of love for Supernatural. Person of Interest is a good show. I'll check it out. When we do when I draw and stuff, I like to have a TV show on. So, yeah, Dexter was terrible at the end. I have never been more disappointed in a show in my life. Seriously, my mom and I said, my friend Joel had Dexter on Blu-ray, and I was like, hey mom, you want to watch the show Dexter? Joel watched it and he tells me it's good. So I had borrowed the first season. I watched it on my own, and then I was like, mom, check the show. So we watched season 2 together. We watched season 3 on Blu-ray, and then we watched I think we watched season 4 either on Blu-ray or as it was live. But as soon as we watched 4, we never missed Dexter. Even though it was illegal streaming, I found a way to watch Dexter every Sunday night live. And then when I was away at college for a semester, I was like, Mom, I'm going to send you a link every day or every Monday morning. And so I'd send her the link and she'd watch Dexter, and then we'd call each other and be like, oh, did you see Dexter? What'd you think of this and that? It was so good. And then the 8th episode, or excuse me, the 8th season happened and it shit the bed. Arguably, it shit the bed earlier than the 8th season. Folks in the chat, let me know of a show that you loved that ended poorly. I'm going to say Dexter's the biggest disappointment for me. Shows that ended well, I liked Breaking Bad's final season. I was into it. Trying to think of other shows. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia has gone downhill, especially with all the plastic surgery of the actors' faces. Bones, Babylon 5. My life revolved around Miami Vice. Mr. Wonderful, my life still revolves around Miami Vice. Summer of 2015, I got a terrible ear infection, and Miami Vice was on Netflix, and I couldn't do much. So I laid around with hearing only in one ear, and I watched Miami Vice, and it is it's tied for my favorite show alongside the Twilight Zone and Good It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Just fantastic. I have the soundtracks, I have action figures, model kits. If I ever met Don Johnson, I'd be like, dude, Sonny Crockett is my favorite TV cop of all time. Let's see. Burn Notice. I used to watch Burn Notice regularly until I had this friend who was like, Burn Notice is lame. We should hang out on Thursdays and do other shit. So I'm like, okay, sure. I'll hang out with you instead. And then I missed Burn Notice. So I need to go back to it. Jesse and I want to finish. Or Jesse's seen it. I want to go back and finish it. I might actually do the whole show again one day. Who knows? Amy listens to World Class Bullshitters as I draw. Amy, do you have your art anywhere, like on Instagram? If you do, let me know. I'll follow you. I follow our listener McKinney90. He's a great inker. So yeah, just if you have anything on social media, let me know. I'd love to watch it, or love to look at it. Let's see. Seinfeld ended badly. Better Call Saul. I need to catch Better Call Saul. For as much as I like the character on Breaking Bad, I haven't watched Better Call Saul yet. Boag, thank you very much for your super chat. What DC animated movies have you watched? Oh God. Do I pull out a list? I've watched a good chunk of them. That's the thing. Let's see. DCAU films. Let me get the master list up. So, what have I watched? So the first one is considered, let's see. I've seen Superman Doomsday. I've seen Justice League The New Frontier. I own that one. I've seen Batman Gotham Knight. I've seen Wonder Woman. I've seen Green Lantern First Flight. I bought that one. Public Enemies. I bought that one. Crisis on Tour. I've seen it. Under the Red Hood. Seen it. Apocalypse. Seen it. All-Star Superman. Seen it and hated it. Green Lantern Emerald Knights. Seen it. Batman Year One. Loved it. Seen it. Obviously. Justice League Doom. Seen it. Superman vs. Elite. Hated it. Dark Knight Returns is my favorite one, I think. Superman Unbound. Didn't see this one. Did I? Yeah, I saw Superman Unbound. Hated it. Justice League Flashpoint Paradox. Loved it because I love the comic book. Justice League War. Didn't like it. Son of Batman, didn't watch it. Assault on Arkham, liked it. Throne of Atlantis, didn't watch it. No, watched it, thought it was okay. Batman versus Robin, did not watch it. Gods and Monsters, did not see it, and I haven't seen any since. Oh, I saw The Killing Joke in theaters. Didn't hate it like most people. And I saw Batman and Harley Quinn. But I need to see more. I want to see Gotham by Gaslight. I want to see the new Death of Superman and Reign of Superman. I just want to watch all of them. I should just re-log into my the DC thing and sign up. Ooh, Apocalypse War is next. So yeah, I've seen most of them, and I've enjoyed a good chunk of them. I really don't get tired of like superhero entertainment. Even I was on a stream where I was doing some kind of work, and I had like the old the old Fantastic Four cartoon was on. I think I watched 10 episodes and didn't even realize it. So I mean, I never really get tired of this shit. Yeah, Domehammer, excellent point. I was going to do a whole stream on this, but we'll talk about it now because it's a natural conclusion for a few minutes, because we got about 20 minutes left of this stream. Levon Media, I meant the 90s Fantastic Four. I know there is a Hanna-Barbera 1967 Fantastic Four cartoon, and I've seen it almost every episode through Boomerang. I like it. Actually, that's my favorite Fantastic Four cartoon. I wish the designs were a little more accurate to Jack Kirby's, but whatever. I'm not a purist. And I've never seen the 70s one with, was it not Robbie, they're about like, his name like Hermie or some shit like that, or Herbie. What is this, The Rock and Kevin Kelly? But no, Domehammer makes an excellent point. Oh, Levon Media, I've also seen the 90s film as well. That is my favorite Fantastic Four film. Though I don't think Tim Story's first film is that offensive. We did a commentary over on Patreon, and the second one, it's been 13 years since I've seen it, so I don't remember it, even though I bought it on Blu-ray. But the point I was trying to make, Domehammer, is the best Marvel shows always get canceled. In my opinion, the best Marvel cartoon is The Spectacular Spider-Man. What happens? It gets canceled. What did they have planned? They wanted Spider-Man to get older, and they wanted the cartoon to get more mature as he grew as a character. They were even going to put they were going to direct to DVD and Blu-ray movies that were going to be a little more violent than the shit that would be on TV. So the TV show was the perfect representation of the Ditko era in a modern setting, and it was going to evolve into the Romita era, and I loved it. Like, seriously, you show me the first image of it, and I go, this looks stupid. I watched the show, and I go, I was wrong. Best Spider-Man cartoon, hands down. Again, canceled. Excuse me. Then they have Avengers Assemble, or whatever the cartoon's called, Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes. I started watching that with my friend Joel. Instantly fucking hooked. Talk about crossovers. They had everybody in that. That to me is the definitive Avengers piece of media. People say, what about the movies? I thought you loved the movies. I do. They're great. But the movies are also riddled with legalities, crossovers that can't be done. It took years for Spider-Man to show up. There are still characters we haven't seen, but in the Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, we had all of them. I mean, they even had Spider-Man show up. And the cool part is they had him voiced by the Spectacular Spider-Man actor, and then I believe he was redubbed by Drake Bell to match that shitty Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon. And the worst part is, Domehammer, about all this, they replace these great cartoons with shitty Disney equivalents. They never replace it with a better show. There's never, Wolverine and the X-Men is a little before this time, but there wasn't an X-Men show after that. I thought Wolverine and the X-Men was a pretty decent representation of X-Men. But you go from Spectacular Spider-Man to Ultimate Spider-Man, and that is terrible. You go from Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes to Avengers Assemble, I think is the name of the cartoon, and it is anemic in comparison. There's no spirit. There's no quality storytelling. I mean, with Earth's Mightiest Heroes, they were going back to the classic Avengers storylines, and they were modernizing them, but they were paying tribute to all of it. And you would see all these characters, and they made them all important. It was well acted, well animated. Seriously, those two are the best Marvel cartoons. And then you got to throw up X-Men the animated series up there too. Maybe it's like those are the trifecta for me of the best Marvel animation. Thankfully, while the first two shows, Avengers and Spider-Man, were canceled, while they were good, X-Men had the embarrassment of the shows going down in quality. The animation quality dipped. The storytelling dipped a little bit. For as much as I love that cartoon, they switched the theme song and all that stuff. I stopped watching that show for a little bit as a kid. I never stopped watching those two shows I mentioned as an adult. Yeah, Grand Admiral Adam, you and I are on the same page with a lot of this stuff. So the 67 Spider-Man cartoon does need to be on Disney Plus. I was lucky. I had a high school job. I was working flipping burgers at a place called Rallies or Checkers, depending on where you are in the country. And in 2004, they released the Spider-Man 67 collection on DVD. And I just went one day after work. I had my mom drive me, and I bought it. And it was cool. I've seen every episode multiple times. I have that DVD set. Thankfully, it was one of the sets I decided to take really good care of because it's super valuable these days. So I'd prefer it to hit Disney Plus. I don't want to have to copy my discs to a digital file and upload them somewhere else, like a Plex server, because it's a bad cartoon, but a good representation of what people thought Marvel Comics were back then. That and the Fantastic Four are a very interesting take on Marvel Comics of the 60s, because those are so over the top and stupid at times. But the books were a little more serious, or if they were over the top, they had a level of verisimilitude where they treated the stuff with the respect of that it deserved. Yeah, John, he did. Ron Wasserman. Actually, it's funny. I was reading an article today on the X-Men cartoon about the theme song and how it's one of the best parts of the show. And it is. The soundtrack overall is fun. I wouldn't be mad. It was funny how Tom from Midnight's Edge on the High Council, I believe it was a week ago or two, discussed how he would like an orchestral version, of the X-Men theme. I'd like him to take a more electronic, cold, hard approach to the X-Men. Make it very tech-noir. And again, I know that's the name of the bar in Terminator, but dark and cold. I don't want this remember, they're outcasts. They do shit. They're hidden at times. I don't want the X-Men to be like they are in Dark Phoenix, where they're getting commendations from the president and parades, and kids are carrying around X-Men dolls. These are tortured characters that are doing these things to better humanity and mutant kind's relationship. And I don't need to have this big bombastic score. I mean, it should be appropriate for the tone of the film. But again, I guess what I'm saying is I'd like the tone of the film to be like that too. I basically would like to see Night of the Sentinels, that kind of a story. You have your introduction to the X-Men through a Kitty Pryde, or just use Jubilee. Fuck it. If you want to talk about representation in films and you have to do it, gun to your head, Jubilee's an Asian girl. Boom, there you go. You got that, and you got all these people from different walks of life. You got your Cajun, you got your Canadian, you got your uptight douchebag Cyclops, who's my favorite X-Men character next to Wolverine, so I'm going to talk shit about him. But you have it. You have Storm, you have Beast, all of them. Hell, if you need even more Asian representation, throw Psylocke in there. I know Betsy Braddock was originally British and into this body and all this stuff, but still. Give us that, and just give us that tone. That's what I really want to see. I don't want Bryan Singer's X-Men updated. I don't want the MCU Joke-A-Minute X-Men. I want the X-Men to reclaim their place as the superhero franchise of the next decade. I think the 2020s should be an X-Men decade. Sure, you can have Fantastic Four as well, but you should definitely top priority, because like I've always said on this show, the audience that I have and the person I am, we're in an age where we remember the 90s fondly, and a lot of that stuff is coming back again. We're talking about Doom. Doom debuted in 91 or 92, and the biggest game in the world right now is Doom Eternal. So everything that's old becomes new again. Same thing with the X-Men. Bring them back. That's all I can say. Let's see. Pride of the X-Men was a good standalone cartoon. What's funny is the only thing I like out of Pride of the X-Men is the arcade game, which isn't even technically a Pride of the X-Men arcade game, but it's based on those designs and the character choices, because I didn't know who the fuck Dazzler was outside of that game. So much, in fact, that when I bought the wave of X-Men figures, I picked up Dazzler just because I know maybe one day I'll get all the figures to match their looks, and I'll do a Pride of the X-Men arcade shelf in my office. So we need more Canadian superheroes. Well, then we just need Alpha Flight. There we go. So let's see. Cesare Japan, thank you very much. Anna, that Star Wars girl, 77, redesigned Snowflake this morning on a live stream, renamed her Snowblade. Looks tons better than what woke folks made, and then told stop messing with established IPs, make your own. Excuse me, thirsty. Hold on. Cesare Japan, I did see that because Anna and I are Facebook friends, and I saw her post about Snowblade. Anna, great artist, definitely improved upon the design. Took the character, made her cooler, or they. Which is the non-binary one?
They, there. It's just Snowflake is.
Okay, so Snowflake. So they, them, there. I don't know.
Space is your classic football jock, remember?
Oh, yeah.
He's so stereotypically a jock, dude.
Because all jock dudes dress like that.
Yeah, they wear short jumpsuits and have pink hair.
Yeah, he's Cisco of the new millennium.
The jockiest of the jocks.
But this is our Japan. I did see her redesign. Jesse, you should check out her redesign of Snowflake.
I will. I'm sure it's fantabulous.
It
and
is.
Infinitely better than the original.
Of course it is. You know Anna.
Yeah,
She is talented.
I like people working at Marvel.
That's true. Well, maybe after Marvel crashes, maybe we'll all in the wake of Marvel just create our own Marvel. I really wish that the Comicsgate people, well, not all of them, but like would have come together and basically formed like a new image where people own their own IPs, but like everyone, ELE, everybody loved everybody type of thing, and really kind of, maybe that's what's going to happen now. It's not too late. So I can dream, can't I? But Cesaro Japan, if you're going to, when you tell people don't mess with established IPs, make your own, there also comes with the unspoken rule of make it good, make it quality, make it worth a goddamn. This is, to me, the new Warriors is like when people say, well, if you don't like it, don't watch it. Or if you want this to happen, do it yourself. Okay, fine. But doing it yourself equals Cyberfrog. Marvel doing it better equals the new Warriors. And what has been massively successful? What is desired? Cyberfrog. What is lampooned and lambasted? The new Warriors. So there you go. There's no... we don't have anything from the big two companies coming out right now that's exciting. Sire J Longstroke, you changed your icon, so you're throwing me off now. But what's up? Have you seen the Trace Martez? Have you seen Trace Martez from the new Clone Wars episode? She looks like she has a pile of poop on her head. I haven't seen the new episode, but I think I know the character you're talking about. Let me Google her because I saw a poster for this. Yeah, this character. I saw her, and I didn't like her design from the first poster. And people were like, what does she look like? She actually looks like she has a turd on her head. Let's look at it together. It's just a bad haircut design that you're trying to incorporate into the Clone Wars. There you go. There you go. Folks, you can laugh at it. Look at that. Seriously, Jesse, it looks like she has a turd on her head. Come here real quick. This is Trace Martez.
What?
Yeah. And the name of the episode is Gone with a Trace. Even Ahsoka looks unimpressed. She's like, yeah, I'm going to let you finish and all, but your haircut is the worst. Yeah, poo-poo head. Everyone's laughing at this. I didn't see the new Clownfish video about the creator of the new Warriors, but I did research about Daniel Kibblesmith. See, to me, the story of the new Warriors and how bad the comics are really is more than, the writer himself. Yes, he's whatever he is. I looked him up. He's married to some woman and all this stuff. But like, to me, the real story is just how bad the actual product is. I don't, and I'm not like trying to not take shots at the guy because I make fun of him in the video. But like I said, for my take on it, what I wanted to present to you guys, what I wanted to talk about, I just personally felt like the actual product was so offensively dog shit that him being a weirdo soy boy or whatever they're all calling him was secondary. Yes, you can make fun of him and you can poke fun, but the fact that those are official Marvel comic books, people like Jack Kirby and Dick Ayers, I don't even know why I mentioned him, but he's fine. Dick Ayers as well, and Wally Wood and George Tuska, all these random guys that you may have never heard of. These people labored and toiled to make these books, to make these characters. Their legacies are being tarnished because the House of Ideas is burnt down. It's an embarrassment, really, that this is what passes modern comics. All I can say is, thankfully, people out there are making their own shit, and I'm fortunately one of the people that can. And yes, I said Dick. Greg Kirby knew Jack Kirby. Good family name. Logan Michael Anti-Funko Pop says, bruh. Logan Michael, I almost bought a Funko Pop today. They had a gold Indiana Jones one, and then I thought of you, and I said, nope, Pop gay. So you have an influence in my life in a positive way. Disney tries to turn Star Wars society into a cyberpunk-like society about socialist classes and sexual revolution. I don't think you're as far off as people would tell you that disagree with you, Hypertron. I don't care about the orientation of any Star Wars character. To me, Star Wars is a space fantasy. It's a fairy tale. George Lucas, who created it, knew what it was about. I do like what the Mandalorian represents and presents to the audience, but at the same time, I don't feel like it's important to have all this modern stuff represented in Star Wars. Just make a classic thing. You follow there's no books like that you adapted Star Wars from. It's a movie first, but you follow the book written by Lucas. That's metaphorically speaking. But yeah, I'm not interested in that stuff. If you want that kind of science fiction, there is much more thought-provoking, Philip K. Dick stuff like that. And yes, I said Dick again. Logan Michael, Anti-Funko Pops, thank you for the super chat. He says, you did good, Jeff. Pop gay indeed. I can't bring myself to it. I know I have Axel Foley on the shelf, but it's Axel Foley. It's literally the only piece of merchandise ever made of the character. I had to go back on that one. Sorry, dude. I had to. Yeah, where they put their wang has nothing to do with the plot. I don't care. If you would have told me, if I would have watched... Here's the thing, too. When you're doing these characters, let's use John Wick for an example. The story of his wife getting sick and her giving him the dog and the dog getting killed and all this stuff is a great motivation. If you would have told me that exact same story with 2 women or 2 dudes, I would have been just as invested. It's a good story. Okay, that's what's important. Like that's a time when you could put that in a movie and it would go, okay, fine. This husband got killed, blah blah blah, and he's going out for vengeance. Because I know John Wick interacts with other women, but he's not like going on this like slaying contest like James Bond is. And I meant pussy slaying, not actually murdering, because John Wick has killed way more than James Bond has. In one movie, he probably kills more than Bond kills altogether. Probably not. Point I'm making, though, is if the story is not a love story or about that, which Star Wars has never been a story about gender equality or this or that, it's like good versus evil. Good versus evil is anybody from any walk of life. There's nothing that Disney has done properly. Anyway, yes, I've been dying to say she does look like she has an apple fritter on her head. It's making me hungry. That's all I can say. We also have Dixon Cider. Thank you very much. He says, dumb question. Did you ever get that Blues Brothers record framed? I hope you two are feeling well. Tell Dion I said horse. Dixon Cider, all the LPs that you sent, I have them in a box at home back in Cincinnati, but I never framed anything. I just kept it all because what would happen is I'd get a lot of P.O. Box stuff and I just would have to store it back in the box that it came and that stuff. But I did keep it in, the condition and made sure I put up. I believe you also gave me a Miami Vice You Belong to the City single, which I did put on a shelf specially so I could look at it every day. So if you sent that as well, that did get a special home in my office. So thank you for everything. So folks, Fandom Menace tonight, we've had a really great turnout, and the fun is going to continue over on Mindless Entertainment because it's only a 90-minute show. That's the reason I do 90 minutes is so I don't have burnout, because I'm streaming every night and I just want to be able to give you guys new stuff to talk about every night. And I don't want it to be boring and monotonous. Obviously, we wanted to talk about Batman. We ended up going into the DCAU and stuff. And that's what I like about our live shows, especially when it's just me and you guys. It's because I don't have a structure that I have to follow as much. I mean, I wanted to talk about some Batman the Animated Series redesigns. We'll talk about those next time. I wanted to talk about WrestleMania for a minute. I'll just bump that to tomorrow night because it'll be, something to bounce off with the guys. But I thought tonight's show was a lot of fun, and that's why we do it. It's fun. So the 90 minutes is just to keep me sane, because we did it for like 4 hours straight. Then it would throw off everything, and then tomorrow's show would suffer. But this way, if we do 90 minutes here and let the other stuff go naturally, everybody wins. So I'm going to share you guys the link. I'm going to be over there. I'll be on camera. You can see my gray polo t-shirt. There you go. That's how cool I'm living right now. But you guys can come over and hang out with Jesse and I. What are we talking about over there, Jesse?
We are going to be discussing the...
Are you having a stroke over there?
Well, we're going to be deciding which celebrities we most want to get on Mindless Entertainment, and we're going to see. I'm just going to harass celebrities until they agree to come on my show. We're going to be talking about the differences in the federal response versus some of the state and local responses, and like I said, the way certain things are ramping up in LA versus the government's deliberations on relaxing some of these restraints. So we'll get back more into that discussion that we had on Monday a little bit, that economic cost versus human cost. And but yeah, like it's very fun talking about celebrities. We might even have a princess, so that'll be exciting.
That'll be on Mindless Entertainment. I've sent the link to Cesare Japan. Give me a second. I'm gonna give you the PO box address in just a moment because I promised you I would. And when did you send that to me? Do you remember? Shit, hold on, I gotta look for it. Just a second, folks. Let's see. Blah 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 blah. Sorry, folks. I promised Cesare Japan. Here we go, right here, Cesare Japan. I'm gonna put it in the chat for you right now, and I'll say it out loud for those that are listening that want to send us stuff. Let's see. There you go, Cesare Japan. That is the P.O. box right there for you. It is 14320 Ventura Boulevard, Suite 163, Sherman Oaks, California, 91423. Now, folks, when we start getting stuff back in the P.O. box, I'll be back to making videos, have a much better system here, aka a little more space, so I won't be as overwhelmed. But would love to have all that stuff, have that video series come back to the channel. And maybe I'll do it live. I'll be on camera opening it. How's that sound? It's a better idea.
That's what I like to do.
That's what Jesse likes to do. And that's what we'll do. So there you go. Lamp Filled with Oil must be a fan of yours because they knew the P.O. box as well.
Hey.
So thank you, Lamp Filled with Oil. Folks, like I said, join us over on Mindless Entertainment for some fun. The link is in the chat right now. Any questions you guys have, you can continue the conversation or anything you want like that. But it's going to be a lot of fun as always. And tomorrow night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, World Class Bullshitters episode 212. We'll announce what the show's going to be and just be there. So I'm going to go be on this stream and I'm going to get back to designing these cards. They're going to be a reality. And we'll be back next time with more, folks. So thank you for watching. And as always, be excellent to each other.